Good day everyone, I am Maiden Laguidao from BSED-ENGLISH 2. I chose the proponent of Progressivism in Philosophical Foundation of Education. John Dewey is nothing less than a rock star of modern education. His idea and approaches to schooling were revolutionary ideas during his lifetime and remain fundamentally important to modern schooling today. In this video, we will take a brief look at the background of John Dewey as well as a more in-depth look at his educational philosophies and ideals. Who is John Dewey? John Dewey was an American philosopher, psychologist, and educational reformer whose ideas have been influential in education and social reform. He was one of the most prominent American scholars in the first half of the 20th century. John Dewey was born in Burlington, Vermont on October 20, 1859. He was a bright kid attending college at the University of Vermont at only 15 years old. At the University of Vermont, Dewey focused on the study of philosophy. Dewey graduated with his bachelor's degree in 1879. He then began his teaching career. He taught 2 years of high school in Oil City, PA, and 1 year of elementary school in Charlotte, Vermont. In 1884, Dewey received his PhD from Johns Hopkins University and immediately began his university teaching career at the University of Michigan. Dewey spent most of his early career there, except for a 1-year stint at the University of Minnesota. In 1894, Dewey left for the University of Chicago, where he would become the head of the philosophy department. At the University of Chicago, Dewey would work to develop much of his viewpoints that have lasted far beyond his time. In 1904, Dewey would become a professor at Columbia University, where he would retire in 1930. Dewey published 1,000 pieces of writings during his time. What kind of person was John Dewey? He was often considered as one of the greatest thinkers of the 20th century. Dewey had a vital influence on psychology, education, and philosophy. His emphasis on progressive education contributed greatly to the use of experimentation rather than an authoritarian approach to knowledge. Dewey was known as the father of progressivism education and was an advocate of social learning. More than 50 years after his death, some of his ideas and philosophies, although looking very different, are being used to promote student engagement in classroom through the use of technology. He probably most famous for his role in what is called progressive education. Progressive education is essentially a view of education that emphasizes the need to learn by doing. Dewey believed that human beings learn through a hands-on approach. This places Dewey in educational philosophy of pragmatism. Pragmatists believe that reality must be experienced. From Dewey's educational point of view, this means that students must interact with their environment in order to adapt and learn. Dewey felt the same idea was true for teachers and that teachers and students must learn together. His view of the classroom was deeply rooted in democratic ideals, which promoted equal voice among all participants in the learning experience. Let us come now to how John Dewey reformed education. Dewey's pragmatic and democratic approach to schooling may not stand out as radical today, but in the early and mid-1900s, his view of education was in contradiction to much of the then-present system of schooling. Dewey's approach was truly child-centered. A child-centered approach to education places the emphasis of learning on the needs and interests of the child. In Dewey's view, children should be allowed to explore their environments. He believed in an interdisciplinary curriculum, or a curriculum that focuses on connecting multiple subjects where students are allowed to freely move in and out of classrooms. The role of the teacher in this setting would be to serve more as a facilitator than an instructor. In Dewey's view, The teacher should observe interest of the students, observe the directions they naturally take, and then serve as someone who helps develop problem-solving skills. At the end, John Dewey, the philosopher from whose teachings has grown the School of Progressive Education and Learning by Doing, died of pneumonia on June 1, 1952 at his home in New York City. According to Dewey, the school is to be a reflection of the larger society outside its walls, in which life can be learned by living. But it is to be a purified, simplified, and better balanced society. Dewey considered the ideal school as an enlarged ideal home. Dewey also believed that education is not a preparation for life. Education is life itself. Education, therefore, is a process of living and not a preparation for future living. Thank you for watching.